here in Los Angeles is the City Mobility Plan Implementation Initiative. It's also known as HLA, or Healthy Streets LA. The measure would require the city to redesign hundreds of miles of streets, part of an effort to make them safer for both pedestrians and cyclists. The effort comes after LA tallied more traffic deaths in 2023 than homicides. That's the first time that that's happened in 9 years. Now, Michael Schneider, he's the founder of the advocacy group Streets for All. This is the organization that is actually behind Measure HLA, and he's here with more. Thanks for being with us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Why is HLA the answer?
Well, we analyzed the data, and since 2015, more than half of the injuries and deaths that have happened on our streets have happened on streets that have planned mobility plan treatment that's not implemented. So if the city just implemented its own street safety plan that was passed in 2015 by City Council, we wouldn't have a pedestrian dying once every 2 days and being injured once every 5 hours.
Well, we had LA City Councilwoman Tracy Park on with us earlier this week, and she says that's not necessarily the case. We've already tried it, and we've actually seen the opposite results. Here's what she said.
We have tried that in parts of the city, and what we've seen as a result is increased gridlock. In some cases, like in my district in Playa del Rey on Vista del Mar, we actually saw an increase in accidents. Implementation of HLA will come at the expense of other priorities like encampment interventions, public safety, tree trimming, street sweeping, and other essential services.
What is your response to her?
First of all, Vista del Mar is not even on the mobility plan, so that project she mentioned isn't a good example. But let me give you one. Reseda Boulevard in the Valley. They put in a protected bike lane and pedestrian safety improvements. Car crashes declined 29%. Foot traffic to businesses went up 44% on that corridor. This is good for business. It's good for safety. It is a proven solution.
And what about for first responders? Because there's the other concern about this is going to really slow, in a life or death situation, it's going to slow first responders, and that's the big backing. The no on HLA is from the firefighters union. That's what we're showing here. Your response to that?
Firefighters are heroes. They're my heroes. It's a shame their union is so out of step with this. The mobility plan would actually lead to over 1,000 miles of new center turn lanes and bus lanes that emergency vehicles can use to bypass traffic. So this would actually, according to the city's own environmental impact report, emergency response time would either stay the same if the mobility plan was fully implemented, or it would get better. That's the city's own data.
Did you consult with any first responders like the fire chief?
So the LAFD actually signed off on the mobility plan. They're consulted with every road safety project the city does. We did reach out to UFLAC. Unfortunately, they never returned our call.
What about funding? Because that's also been an issue. The city administrator officer for Los Angeles estimates this is going to cost $3.1 billion. You say that that's overinflated. He said this is a conservative estimate. $3.1 billion, that's more than $300 million a year because this is over a 10-year plan.
First of all, it doesn't have to be over 10 years. That's completely up to the city. Our measure doesn't dictate that. Second of all, 2/3 of his estimate is to repair sidewalks. I would love sidewalks to be fixed in Los Angeles, but HLA doesn't mandate it. That's 2/3 of the cost right there, $2 billion out of his $3 billion. The other $1 billion is for bike lanes, and he's estimating them at $2 million per mile. The Los Angeles Department of Transportation has them at 1/10 of the cost, $200,000 per mile. Unfortunately, he's politicized the numbers, and they're just flat out wrong. They're designed to scare voters.
So how much would it cost?
Our estimate is $280 million with an M. If done over 10 years, $28 million a year. The city currently gets over $700 million a year in local return money that can only be used for street improvements and infrastructure. So $28 million out of $700 million is not too bad. And we're also saving lives here. In addition, it wouldn't touch the general fund. That is dedicated funding for transportation.
Well, we appreciate you coming on and sharing your perspective and your side. Michael Schneider, again, he is the man behind Measure HLA in Los Angeles. Last day to vote is, of course, next Tuesday, March the 5th. Michael, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.